Hey y'all, watch this.
Hey folks, it's Isaac. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make our ultralight fanny pack kit. What you'll need for this project is your DIYer's toolkit, or at the very least, you'll need lighter, thread snips, scissors, and clips. This kit includes the laser cut blanks for the back pocket, the wings, as well as the fanny pack, and then all of the components that you'll need to complete the kit. The first step in this process is to make a rolled hem on your back pocket. The first thing you need to do is measure down about 1/4 inch from one of the long sides of the rectangle. At this line, you're going to fold once and then twice and then sew that down. At this point, you're going to run a straight stitch as close to the fold as possible. Now that your pocket is prepped, we're going to mark on the body pattern piece where you're going to lay down that pocket. What we're going to do is measure from these two corners up 1/8 of an inch. Now that you've got this line measured out, you're going to take the back pocket of your pattern piece and you're going to lay it down face to face with your pack fabric, and you're going to line up that long edge with the line. Once you've done that, you're going to lay a row of stitching right along that edge. We want to keep the seam allowance as small as possible on this pocket. I'm aiming for about 1/8 of an inch. Now you're going to fold over that back pocket so that the wrong side is touching the right side of the pack fabric. When you're sewing this down, remember to keep the seam allowance as small as possible because you're going to want this to be in your final seam allowance when you assemble the rest of the bag.
Rollin', 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 keep them doggies rollin' rawhide.
Now that we've completed this back pocket, we're going to set that aside and move on to our wings. The first thing that you're going to want to do with this is fold this rectangular piece back with the wrong sides touching so that makes a straight line. And then you're going to sew that down. Now we're going to fold these wings in half, face to face, and we're going to sew down the diagonal edge. Remember, this is going to be about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that you've sewn down the diagonal for one, you're going to do the exact same steps on the other wing piece. Now that you've sewn both of your wing pieces, make sure to fold them out. After you've folded them out, you're going to put a row of top stitching right along that diagonal edge to keep it nice and flat. Make sure that you don't sew down this straight edge because that's where your webbing for the belt is going to go. We're going to do the exact same thing with the other wing. Once both of these wings are top stitched and folded out and everything, you're going to line these up so that the top straight edge is on the same side of your pattern piece as the open edge of your back pocket. And then you want the long straight edge to line up with the side of the pocket piece. Now when you're sewing these down, again, you just want to make sure that you have a smallest seam allowance as possible because you want this to be inside the final seam allowance when you put the whole thing together. Now we're going to move on to our zipper tape. The first thing you want to do here is separate your zipper coil. Next, you're going to take one of those pieces of zipper and you're going to identify the shiny side of your zipper. And then you're going to lay that down on one edge of the top of your fabric with the shiny side facing the face of your pattern fabric. Now when you're sewing down your zipper tape, you want your thread to be as close to the zipper teeth as possible. Now if that means putting on a zipper foot on your sewing machine, then that's what you might need to do. On this machine, I'm simply going to move the needle position to the far left and line up the left edge of my presser foot with the zipper teeth. Now that we've got that sewn down, we're just going to turn that over so that the shiny side and the right side of your pattern fabric are facing out. And then we're going to put a row of top stitching as close to the folded edge as possible. Now we're going to repeat these same steps on the other side of our pattern piece. Next, we're going to flip over our pattern piece so that these two pieces of zipper meet in the middle, and we're going to install our zipper sliders. All you're going to do for this is just make sure the edges of your fabric line up, and then you're going to push on your zipper slider onto both sides of that zipper. And this is what I always struggle with. Once you've got your zippers on, just go ahead and cut about 4-5 inches of grosgrain. And you're going to fold that in half and sew it on at the end of your zipper tape so that the folded edge is going towards the middle of the bag. Now when you're sewing this on, make sure you fold in that other pattern piece so that you don't sew anything together before you're ready to. Next thing I'm going to do is just trim down this zipper tape even with that finished edge of your pattern piece on both sides. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold this inside out. Now that you have your pattern piece folded inside out, you're going to line up these two side pieces and you're going to sew this down with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now we're going to line up the other side and do the exact same thing.
Bring us tea and spice and rum. Rum.
Our next step is going to be to take these front quarters of the front side of your pattern piece, which is from the opposite side where you sewed on your pocket. We're just going to take these pattern pieces and pull it apart and line up those two edges. We're going to run a row of stitching 1/4 inch away from that edge. Okay, now that we have sewn down the front, we're going to move on to the back and do the exact same thing. Just pull those corners tight and put your seam down with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now one final time on this last corner. Now that you have all of your sides sewn together, we're just going to go ahead and open up the zipper and turn the fanny pack right side out. Now to prep our waist strap, we're going to take about 8 inches of webbing. Make sure you burn the edges so that they're not raw. Once you've burned that, you're going to take the female side of your cross buckle and you're going to thread that piece of webbing onto the buckle. Now what you can do here is just burn that one more time so that those two pieces stick together. Now when you're deciding which side of your fanny pack you want your buckle to go on, you typically want to go with your dominant side. So I'm right-handed, so I like to put my buckle on the right side of my pack when it's on my back. When you decide which side you want it to be on, you're just going to simply take that folded webbing and put it into your wing. Now that you have that inserted all the way into the wing, you're going to run 1 row of stitching right here on the edge, and then I like to do a sideways Z pattern. So I'll go down here and back and forth a few times, and then up diagonally and down again, and go back and forth a few times. Now to finish off your waist strap, you're going to go ahead and take the rest of your webbing and insert it into the other side of your wing. Now once you have that all the way inserted, you're going to do that same stitch you did on the other side in the sideways Z pattern. Now the final step in this process is to add the other side of your buckle, and then you're going to size it and then finish off that raw edge. So we're going to start by going up through the first ladder, and then we're going to go through the back ladder and then put it on. And you want to leave yourself about 10 inches of webbing after you have it in a comfortable position. And we're just going to do a 1/2 inch rolled hem after you've cut it off where you want it. Now you're going to take that flat piece of elastic and fold it over both pieces of webbing near the male side of that buckle. What you want to do here is just put a row of stitching as close to that webbing as possible. Stretch it just a tiny bit so that the elastic will hold those two pieces of webbing nice and tight. Once you've trimmed that, just go ahead and flip it inside out. At this point, I'm also going to go ahead and install my slider pulls. The other thing that you can do here is open up the fanny pack and put a row of top stitching right at the base of that zipper pull, just to reinforce that a little bit. As always, once you've finished everything up, go back over it, snip all those loose threads, and make it look nice and clean. And that's it, you finished your fanny pack kit. Now just keep in mind, this is the baseline for what you can do with this. If you want to add pockets or key rings, or really whatever you want to make it your own, just have fun with it. If you want to learn more sewing skills, check out our other videos. And if you want to see all of our kits, go check out our website. Thanks for watching.